And we did this, we translated these into many languages just to see how it would look, how it would play out. And this is just one example of one of the symbols that we were looking at to see how this would look in multiple languages. And we took that back and to the consumers again. And we had a clear winner. And the clear winner, of course, was fakes cost more, I buy real. And I'm not going to dwell on all the numbers here, but the point is we thought we were onto something here, and we still think we're onto something here because this is what consumers really responded to with the examples we gave them. And then we've taken it to the next step, which is to say, how do we actually put that into practice? Now, this is just one example, and it is in a perhaps an old school communications vehicle, but what we've done here is to show what it might look like in a print ad or a poster in an airport or a poster in the streets, showing one of the themes. Counterfeits do a job on employment, a graphic to capture that, some copy to explain it, and then our symbol at the bottom. Here are, I know you can't read those, but those are perhaps from just even the small graphics there, you can see one of them talks about the damage to your computer, the other one talks about the risk to your health, and then the first one is this is a criminal activity and talks about the criminal activity as well. So where do we go from here? The key to this is it gets into the point I made earlier, which several people on the panel have already talked about, which is getting this message out broadly. And the way to do that from our standpoint is to partner. While we've done some of the legwork here and the research to get to this point, the real next step is to offer this to anyone and everyone that would like to partner with us to get the message out. We took a first step in that direction on Tuesday when, as part of a meeting with about 40 national associations, anti-counterfeiting associations, and others that are working hard on this issue, we shared this idea with them. We had a terrific initial response. We believe there are a number of partner opportunities with those groups and with many others out there. But we also believe that there's a real opportunity to work with governments at the national level and at the global level, the international level, because as many of you know, governments are repeating this point over and over again, the need for consumer education. They're also being challenged by some of the groups like the G20 to take this on as part of their efforts to defend intellectual property rights. So we believe that, combined with things like the EU Observatory on Counterfeiting, which has consumer awareness as one of their 3 initial activities, the G8 mandate that's come out twice, at least twice in previous meetings, we believe those, plus the things that WIPO and other organizations are doing in this area, give us an opportunity to really look for partner within the government as well as within the business community. So I think my closing point is that any of you in the audience who are interested in the consumer awareness aspect of fighting this problem, we are ready to work with you, and we encourage you to let us know. We would love to partner with you, and whether you're from government or from the private sector, we believe we can offer not only the copy that you've seen here as one example, but also some of the other tools to back up what goes with this. So with that, I just encourage you to get in touch with us, go to bascap.com and get some more information, and we'll be happy to talk to you more about how to make this happen.
Thank you, Bill. Again, it's good to see that you're making progress both on the shape of the campaign as well as finding partnerships around the world. As we've talked about before, having partnerships, particularly in local markets who know the local audiences, is very important in mounting a successful campaign. We're running a little bit low on time. I'd like to ask David Finn to come up and talk a bit, and I do want to make sure that we have some time for your questions, because I'm sure you have either some questions or comments for the panel. David?
La Familia Morelia Michoacan, otherwise known in law enforcement circles and in the international press as La Familia, is a ruthless, violent, notorious drug cartel based in Mexico, and if not the most violent drug cartel in the world, certainly one of the most violent drug cartels in the world. La Familia, as I've read in the international press, stops at nothing when it comes to striking fear in the hearts of opponents. They have brutally tortured and murdered police officials and left their bodies on the side of highways. They have killed political officials, and they really have made it a calling card of the way they strike fear in the hearts and minds of opponents to sever the heads of their enemies. I talk about that today because La Familia is not just in the drug business. They are also in the manufacturing and distribution of software counterfeiting business. And in my hand is actually one disc. This is a counterfeit Office 2007 Professional, Spanish language, that was completely omnipresent in the streets of Mexico, produced and distributed by La Familia, with the interesting part that they actually have their logo, FMM, for Familia Morelia Michoacan, emblazoned on the counterfeit disc. La Familia makes about $2.24 million a day. That was the estimate from the Mexican Attorney General that was published in the Mexican press, a day from selling counterfeit software and other counterfeit products, including films, music, and games. They have apparently 180,000 unique points of sale throughout Mexico. And on the day that Mexican law enforcement, with several hundred law enforcement officials participating, because law enforcement feared that some of the members of La Familia armed with machine guns who were in the mountaintops would be firing on Mexican law enforcement, they seized 2 tons of various contraband, including actual counterfeit goods. So this is the scary, the really dark, dark side of software counterfeiting, and it's real. Microsoft went out, we commissioned a study a few months ago to ask consumers in 20 countries, 38,000 consumers, we asked them questions about software counterfeiting. 80% of them said that they had concerns about using counterfeit software. 73% said they see a difference between counterfeit and genuine, and they would prefer to use genuine software. 50% said that because they had serious concerns about malicious code, about spyware, about viruses. In an age where hacking and cybercrime is so common, consumers around the world are genuinely worried that if they use non-genuine software, they are more at risk to have their financial information taken from them, their passwords taken from them, and their computers not being able to work. We actually, it turns out, when we go back and talk to the experts and look at the counterfeits we seize around the world, it turns out that the consumers are right to be concerned. We looked at counterfeits found in 17 countries, and 50%, more than 50% of the counterfeits we saw had either malicious code on the code in the counterfeits, exposing consumers to greater risk, or the software wouldn't even install, it wouldn't even start, it wouldn't work at all. There's a study was done in the UK where they looked at the actual risks of using non-genuine software for businesses. Using non-genuine software results in a 73% increase in the risk that the business will have lose confidential data, and a 43% increase that their systems will break down for 24 hours or more. And consumers are asking industry, asking government to do more to protect them from the perils of software counterfeiting. 65% said they want governments to do more. 72% said they want industry to do more. One of the things that we at Microsoft do, and I spoke about this at a previous Congress, is we make tremendous investments in forensics. when consumers say we want industry to do more, one of the things we are doing is investing enormously in intelligence and sophisticated ways of mapping piracy, mapping crime, and enabling us to make the connections between counterfeits found in one language, in one city, in one country, with another counterfeit version of Microsoft software in another language found in another city in another country. And it's because of doing work like that that we feel, we have a responsibility to do that, and enables us to make significant cases in collaboration with law enforcement, like a case from a few years back where one criminal syndicate based in China produced counterfeits found in 36 different countries. So these are some of the examples of stories I think we need to tell. These are the facts that we really want to get out. Over the last year or so, we've had some success, but I wouldn't boast too much about it, but we certainly have had, these facts are getting out into the press. The story about the La Familia sort of got international coverage when the New York Times did a long, extended story about organized criminals and the major criminal syndicates and brutal criminals who are involved in software piracy and other forms of piracy. What I mentioned about forensics, some of the work that Microsoft is doing when it comes to putting the pieces together and really investing in intelligence, that story was told in a Business Week story this past summer. And the stories about what consumers are saying, their fear, their concern about the risks of using non-genuine software, you can see that in a number of headlines that I've just put up on the slide. We had something called Consumer Action Day 2 months ago, which was a day that was really designed to focus on some of the results of the surveys I mentioned before. So, John, you opened this by asking, are people listening? We certainly want to make sure that we tell them facts so they hear them. And we think they are listening, and we think that some of these facts are facts that will, as Bill just talked about, are important facts that when people hear them and understand them, they will understand the importance of IP protection, and they will be less likely to purchase, less likely to distribute, and less likely to be part of the serious problem that everyone in this room knows all about, government officials, industry, everyone else here, of how important it is that IP be protected, and the problem that faces us all with piracy and counterfeit. So I know we only have a few more minutes to go. I'll leave here. Thank you very much.
David, thank you very much, and it's some very sobering information there. And again, bringing it back to the story that we talked about at the beginning, there are lots of very good stories to be told, not only about counterfeiting and piracy, but about on the difficult side, but on the positive side, the value of innovation, what innovation can do, what creativity can do, and why it's important to protect and to reward efforts of the innovators and the creators. We have just a couple of minutes, and I would like to take any questions if we could maybe raise the house lights a little bit. And if there's anyone with a question or a comment or a statement, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you as quickly as possible. Thank you.
And I'm also a right holder. I think there is a certain degree of education that is also required to be given to the actual competitor. Because in the context of India and in the context of the subcontinent, there are a lot of counterfeiters who have no idea of what the law is. Some years back, I got a T-shirt gifted to me by one of my friends. And it coincidentally happens, it was a crocodile T-shirt. Now, it was an infringement, and it had a label. So being in the field, I traced the manufacturer